Hello, world, and welcome back to Pardon the Politics Season 2, Episode 21. And I think for the first time in our podcast, we have a part 2 of Episode 21. So this is a first for us, and we are going to break back down where we started at in our beautiful bill.
But wait, there's more. Hang on to your seat, baby.
As you guys know from listening to the last episode, we just couldn't get through it all. This beautiful big bill that, that Johnny has provided us. So we had to come back, and we just felt like it was just a disservice to our listeners to not come back and finish
and
off.
Wrap it up. Put a little bow on it.
We got to put a bow on it, bro. You can't just leave it open, bro. We gotta. As Bruno Mars says, we can't just leave the door open.
I think the funny thing about all this is that before we even started, when we were in pre-production, I called it. I said, "Hey, we got to be mindful of time."
Yeah,
and sure enough, there was so much in this.
We just couldn't do it, bro. As much as we tried to, we did. But for our listeners, I hope this speaks volume to the dedication that we have here at Pardon the Politics, that we were willing to hop back in the arena, get back on these mics, and continue to break down the details of this big, beautiful bill that we've been so blessed to have from the Trump administration. So we're going to jump back into it. We're not going to delay any longer.
If you want to hear about the taxes, if you want to hear about healthcare, social programs, go ahead and listen to the first episode this week.
Yep. So we've already covered two aspects of this bill in the previous episode, which will be part 1. So we're going to pick it back up in part 2 with the third aspect of this bill, and that is going to be defense and border security funding. Now, for details, $150 million increase in our defense spending. There's a $70 million for border security, including a $46.5 billion allocation for wall construction. So we're right back in on that great Trump wall of America.
The wall that never ends.
The wall that never ends, bro. And then also there are details in this aspect of the bill on new detention centers, technology, and more border patrol agents. So as we look at this part of the bill, Manny, I'm going to throw it this aspect of it to you. What are some of the pros or cons that you may see in this bill when it comes to defense and border security funding?
I see. I'm glad you added that last part because you said pro. I was like the entire bill because we're gonna be on our way to a part 3 real quick.
Real quick.
Look, if there is one thing we can say about Donald Trump, he is going to attempt to do the things that he says he's going to do.
Yeah, facts.
So the fact that we're still talking about this border wall after it's over a decade now, we're going to be approaching a decade of talking about this stupid wall.
Yeah.
And again, for our listeners, we are not against walls. We do believe that there is a place for strategic walling and strategic fencing all along the border. But when you look at land acquisition costs, when you look at eminent domain, when you look at the roughness of trying to construct this great wall, why?
Yeah.
You know, if they have to hike up Kilimanjaro both ways.
Why do we put a fence on the side of the mountain?
Bro, it's Texas. There's snakes and everything. Like, okay, like, hey, give them a sticker. I made it over the mountain. Let's go ahead and fast track them. Like, but all things aside, $46.5 billion.
Yeah.
To put that in construct of what we already spend on defense, which is more than virtually everybody in the world. I think China might be getting close to us.
Yeah.
But it costs money to be the world police. Because if we love it or hate it, that's who we are. We are the world police right now. We spend $850 billion every year on our defense. So if you look at this, essentially almost, 50 billion, you're talking about we are dedicating an additional 5%
Yeah.
of our budget to this wall. That's wild. That's
That's very wild. And to that point, when you just add to the wildness of that number, in my opinion, the wall is a very short term solution. And not a very valuable one, because we know that there, from a landscape perspective, there are some areas that just literally
you
can't
can.
have a
Right.
physical barrier there. But when I think about the amount of money being spent on this physical barrier, um, does it really address the root cause of immigration?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all.
Thank you.
Like if you go back, past Obama, past Biden, you're going back. I believe it was Clinton,
Yeah.
or maybe even the first Bush, where you could very easily go back and forth over the borders. And it was during the early 90s, I'll say, because that'll cover both Clinton and the first Bush, the early
Yeah.
90s, where they stopped that kind of revolving door. So people came over and stayed. So that's where you really started to see this trick up and up and up. But that, even on top of that, we're still talking about building the wall. We're not talking about maintaining the wall. We're not talking about maintenance and upgrades on the wall. This is a huge expense. And if you look at the Great Wall of China, that's a historical landmark. They are maintaining that minorly for
But
the sake of tourism.
but at what cost?
Not I'm not I don't see anyone in the US rushing to the border to see this Great Wall that we've constructed.
No. And so to me, it leads to the imagination that, is this something of an ego um, for Trump? Because
No. Not Donnie. Not Big Donnie.
I don't believe that ballooning the budget, which in ballooning the budget, I mean that we're adding 220 billion more spending, which contributes heavily to the national debt. I don't believe that this money is being properly allocated to solve the problem. First of all, where is Doge at in this? Because
Bruh, we
isn't
using
this
this
what you were supposed to be doing? This
Bruh.
is not efficient.
This is the best summary that I can see with this bill and Doge and what we're doing right now. This is like me going to the gym, hitting the Stairmaster for 5 minutes, and then going to Golden Corral and said, "Man, I sure did kill those calories." You right.
You did
in both ways.
in both ways. But when I think about this, and even down to not just the wall expansion, but the parts of this bill where there's money allocated for the detention centers, we've already seen how we have used Guantanamo Bay, certain detention centers, the way that we have seen certain things handle and transpire with these detention centers. I feel like that raises even more of a concern from a civil rights perspective of how will these places be maintained, managed, controlled, and what will this even look like? And the fact that you're taking this amount of money to drop into this bucket that we see that has been poorly managed.
And we're already struggling to find people to staff these locations.
And that's another thing. Who's going to work these jobs? We've already seen, and I believe that we've seen some signing that has happened over the past week where there have been more of a military presence at the southern border. This to me, in my mind, this physical presence and this physical border at the southern border does not solve the issue. In my opinion, it does not solve the issue. So let me guess. You got 1,000 troops that's hiding in tunnels that's going from Mexico to San Diego. Like we have seen that this is a very strategic. Now, granted, the part of the bill that I do like is them addressing the technology aspect. I think that if we have people on the border, we should be providing them with the best technology and the best resources to
Yeah.
do the job. But in this creation, and it's been looked at and listed as this job creation that they're doing on the border, I don't feel like that doesn't really solve the problem or get us to where we need to be at. It solves a campaign promise that Trump has said and highlighted, but
Well,
does it really solve the problem?
we're spending 5%. Well, of that 70 billion, they're dedicating 2 billion to customs and border protection, 2 billion for staff, 1 billion for technology, and almost 3 billion for surveillance enhancements. I'm sorry. Okay, 2 billion for staff, and then 4 billion to hire additional patrol agents and officers. Okay. But for me, it's all of those things you need more than a physical wall.
Yeah.
You also know why walls don't work great? Because ladders are a thing and tunnels are a thing. Submarines are a thing.
Bruh.
Like these things exist.
This is not like the 1800s, bro.
Have we forgotten that El Chapo escaped?
And took a picture in front of the White House, right?
Bro, this man had ignoring the escape from prison.
Yep.
This man had a whole tunnel under the border.
Yep.
Into the U.S. where he got picked up and hit out. And this is just a free one person. If you're talking about, hey, you're trying to stop the flow of guns and drugs and stuff, these are not like your mom and pop operations. These are sophisticated operations. Build a wall.
They ain't new to this.
Bruh.
They ain't new to this. They true to this. And your wall ain't gonna stop nothing.
We're gonna have a big old tunnel going from Baja, California into Arizona. Like, what are we doing? So
this is a lot of money allocated for something that is not, in my opinion, going to be a factor whatsoever. It's just going to be, hey, there's a wall.
He's going to go out there. He's going to take his pictures,
and they're going to put a big old Trump banner on it. And But my thing is, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
No, but the other part in this defense and security, the $25 billion that has been allocated for the Golden Dome defense system.
Oh, God.
Now, they've said that this Golden Dome system is going to be comparable to what Israel has. And I'm like, okay, but let's just take some things into sight.
Yeah.
Israel's dome system is very big. It's the largest. But do you know how big Israel is? It's about the size of New Jersey.
Bruh.
So now
the
you're
amount
talking
of money you got to allocate to have something on the scale of what the U.S. size is.
25 billion already. I can just from the sheer number is not going to be enough.
Well, I know that you can have a cheaper tab. You can stop pissing off everybody in the globe, and you don't have to worry about having an iron dome.
Are you suggesting having fewer enemies?
I mean, you could not have so many enemies.
But it's also like, do you need it over the entire United States?
Bruh.
Like, and not saying, hey, I'm willing to sacrifice any state, because I'm not saying that.
Oh, facts, yeah.
But like, do you realize how much work that they are going to have to do to fly something? Let's just say it's Russia. Russia or China. They want to pop off.
Mm-hmm.
California, it makes sense. So you want to protect California. But like, am I really going to waste a warhead trying to hit the center of Montana or the center of Wyoming? There are people there still. But I'm like, can we work on, maybe deterrent systems?
Yeah.
But this is also coming from the same country. I love America. I want it to be clear. I love our country.
Let it be known.
We love our country. And because we love our country, we have to criticize it sometimes. But we are the same country that allowed a weather balloon
to
to
float
traverse
across
its way.
over
And
the
everyone
top
freaked
half
out.
of the country.
Bruh. And we freaked out for weeks over this weather balloon.
Yep.
Bro, how are you going to build this missile defense shield? Like,
Bro, if y'all let a balloon in here,
y'all let a balloon in, like,
bro, we got a lot of work to do, and this ain't gonna cover it. This amount of money ain't gonna cover it.
bro, and I believe the balloon was larger than, like, the thing under the balloon was as big as a car. So
Yeah,
you're
they
talking
said
about
like a small minivan or something.
right.
Yeah, like,
You're talking about missiles that are smaller than that. If we
bro,
couldn't do anything about that,
and we watched it.
and we watched
We
it,
watched it float.
boy,
Days.
if we, like, let me tell you, had I been
Bruh.
president, the way we would have scrambled some F-16s
Oh, bro.
and sent that thing into Kingdom Come.
Oh, bro, I would have put a display on.
Bro,
I'm about to show y'all what I'm gonna do when you send stuff over here.
did they just send up 53 Raptors
Bruh.
to shoot this thing out of the sky?
I don't care if it's an anniversary balloon, a birthday balloon, a weather balloon. It's going down in 5.
Yeah. I'm going to send the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds
Bruh.
and tell them, shoot this down
Yep.
with as much military and acrobatics as you possibly can.
As ignorant as you can.
I want a corkscrew of Raptors going around as they're shooting it down. Oh, we're going to put on a show.
Oh yeah. I want you to put on a show that'll make Tom Cruise proud.
He'd be like, dang, I got to do that in my next Mission Impossible 58.
Yep.
A balloon too far.
In saying all that though, man, and when you talk about the numbers, it leads me to think, and I want to pose this to our listeners. Could this money be more effective?
Yes. Yeah, I didn't even need. I don't. Listeners, y'all ain't got to answer it. Yes, this money could be better used in a litany of other places.
Could it be used in a better place like veteran services, infrastructure, education? So as we move on, I just want to say this to our listeners. Would you be willing to support this increase if it meant cuts to healthcare, education, and veteran services? Are you okay with that? Because ultimately, we have to understand if this amount of money is being allocated, there has to be somebody that gets the short end of the stick.
Well, obviously our national debt,
right? A national debt, bro. Our national debt about to look like a Aaron's account.
Stop! Not Aaron. I was like, no, not. But before we go on to the next topic, I feel like it's really important to just state this number: $46 billion for this wall. Did you know that the National Alliance to End Homelessness, their estimate to end homelessness and ensure that every homeless person has permanent supportive housing would cost somewhere probably between $20 to $35 billion a year.
Wow, bro.
We could do this twice.
Yep.
We could do this twice. Even on the high end, the Urban Institute analysis, their analysis said that it would be somewhere between $30 and $37 billion a year to end homelessness in the United States. Bro, we can do this and then still got time for ice cream.
Bro. So when you think about the people that you sent up in Washington and you think about the people you elect, why is this not something that's feasible? You don't even, I'm going to go so far on a limb to say you don't even have to solve it. You can just kind of take care of it a little bit. You could do half of that.
You could do nothing and we may be in a better spot.
Yeah. But again, here we are on a physical wall or certain parts of this aspect of the bill that does not necessarily take care of the problem, but this money could be allocated in certain areas that would definitely take care of a problem that I feel like would benefit and enhance the life of the American people. But cum sing, cum sa, as we always say. So that's our coverage on the defense and the border security funding. So next we'll talk about there's a nice beautiful account that's coming for those that are born between the years of 2024 and 2028. So if you were born before that, we're sorry for you. But that is called the child savings accounts, or better coined as Trump accounts. So in these Trump accounts, $1,000 is automatically granted to children born between 2024 and 2028. Parents can,
Is that where they landed it at 20? Because that's another number that keeps hopping around. I heard
yeah.
24. I heard only this year.
Well, as far as what I've seen, but
Okay.
we know how this goes.
You're right.
It could change. But parents can contribute up to $5,000 annually, which will be tax deferred, and the funds are to be used for education, home ownership, or retirement. So, in these, this nice, beautiful gift that has been given us by President Trump, what's your thoughts and opinion on the Trump accounts?
Okay. Y'all, we know we are a bipartisan podcast, and we try to make sure that we stay on top of everything. But me personally, I'm not against this. This is not the worst idea we've ever had. If we just kind of look at the numbers, if we go ahead and we put $1,000 into it, and it fluctuates in the markets, ignoring what it's invested in, because I believe all of these are just going to be invested in an equity index fund, so it's just going to kind of hold there. Most equity index funds historically have, turned between 6 to 8% annually after inflation. So I think this is great, but you need the continued support. So let's say you're having a child and you get one of these accounts as soon as they're born. At 3% interest, that $1,000 has gained another $1,700. If you look at a moderate at 5% return, that $1,000 has now become $2,500, give or take. 7%, which is the historical average, that $1,000 has become $3,300, and 8%, which is optimistic, that $1,000 has become $4,000. So it's not nothing, but like these accounts only really work if there's consistent investment in it year after year after year. But it's better than nothing, far better than nothing. This is also, Trump is not the first one that has suggested this. Cory Booker first introduced an idea comparable to this in 2018 and then did it again in 2021. There have been bipartisan interests that we've seen happen out of various think tanks. Hillary Clinton was out there talking about this in the past. George W. Bush, Mitt Romney have included things like this before. So this is not a new idea. So overarchingly, I like it. My concern here now becomes on when you're able to withdraw. So you can't withdraw until you turn 18. And when you turn 18, you get access to half of it, with full access being given by the time that you're 25, and funds must be withdrawn completely by the age of 30. I like that and I think the key point is that earnings grow tax deferred. So it's going to work like if a 401k-ish. But the withdrawals will be taxed at long-term capital gains rates, so about 15% as you start to withdraw. And then unqualified withdrawals that happen with a penalty. And if you look at other penalties that the IRS and the government usually do, I would guess that would be in line, which is probably around 10%. This is not a horrible idea. I think for me personally, I wish the list was actually, I'm not even fully against it. So the list of things that people can spend it on, and geez, correct me if I'm wrong here, but they can spend it on college, starting a new business,
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's one other thing that I'm forgetting about that you can also spend this money on. But I would have liked
I
that.
believe the flexible use of it is that it can be applied for key stages of life,
Okay.
not just college. So any stage of life that would qualify for that. So starting a business, buying a home, going to college, things of that nature.
Having a house party.
Yeah,
Look, your first house party is a stage of
that's a
life that
stage
you
of
must
life,
not
bro.
ignore. So, and then the other part about it is like when you start thinking about financial aid. Oh, trade schools. Trade schools. If you're going in
Yeah,
trade
yeah,
schools, you
yep,
can use
yep.
it towards that as well. Because it is the property of the student, I guess my concern is can and will it be counted against people for financial aid?
Mm,
I think that's a thing that we have to be aware of. Now, here's where I will give the administration credit.
okay.
This appears on the surface that the administration is concerned about the cost of raising kids. And this appears to be a step to attempt to try to do something towards this. So better something than nothing. But I guess
But
yeah.
I have a question though. If $1,000 is automatically granted to children that are born between 2024 and 2028, if you have a large demographic of American families that aren't able to contribute $5,000 a year to their child saving, how does this account benefit them if I can barely put anything into it?
I mean, not a whole lot. I mean, you're going to have like the numbers I ran before. If you just leave that 1,000 in there, assuming gains from 3% to 8%, that $1,000 will turn to a little under $2,000 to $4,000.
So, for the vast majority of Americans that fit that category, how is this really? It sounds good, but how is it really helpful to them?
Well, geez, I got a thought.
Yes, sir.
Not to go too deep on this, but
Okay.
this is now a way for the federal government to start finding alternative ways of investing into the economy and locking that money in there for 18 years.
Is this a wealth lock in?
Loosely,
Mm.
it's your money. It's technically your money,
Yeah.
but it's locked away, so it has to stay in the market until you can pull it out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Bro, that's my only concern with it is that I feel as though it sounds nice and it sounds helpful. But when I think of the realization of many of Americans, middle class, low income Americans, I don't see how this is something that I say, oh, okay, thank you. This helps me. This puts me in the best position possible, or this closes the wealth gap that we have in this country, where I'm able to give my child a true opportunity. I mean, yeah, you could say, well, you didn't have $4,000 before, so I mean,
right.
why are you complaining now? But still, by the time these kids get to a certain age and to go to trade school, if the first semester costs $7,000, $8,000,
well, and that's just looking at today's numbers. That's that's $4,000, not counting for inflation.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have 8% returns and then get there, and that $4,000 still actually only be $1,000.
Yeah,
like that's a thing that could happen.
So I think that while it is something good, I would encourage our listeners to think on, you know, in the position that you're in with your family and the status that you have in this country, would you be able to contribute enough to this per year to reap the true benefits of this program? Or is this something that is tailored to benefit those that can contribute successfully to this year in and year out?
And I just don't think we should look at it that way.
Okay.
Like, because if you just look at the average savings rates across the country on average, most households in America cannot cover a $500 emergency expense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so if you're talking about saving for college on top of that, and you can't deal with a expense, like, that's going to be problematic. I think it is better than nothing. I think it is them realizing that it's obviously expensive to raise children, and there's obviously a concern because our entire social security system is built under a calculation where everyone just keeps having more kids, and that is clearly not happening anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Partially because of the raw costs. They're trying. I have to salute them for trying.
The try's a failed attempt, brother. I'm just gonna say that the
It's not
try's a
enough.
failed attempt.
But I agree.
I often
It's
think
not
sometimes in my mindset, I just think sometimes that we're okay with, well, it's better than nothing, but sometimes better than nothing is still crap too. And
yeah, it's true.
I think sometimes we have to realize that. But in any rate, as you said, it is something, and I would like to see where this Trump account fits with everyday Americans and how they're able to take advantage of it. Now, granted, it's going to take a while for that to come to fruition, but maybe this does something, maybe it doesn't. I think time will tell eventually where this falls and how back in history we will look at this and say this was something really great, or it wasn't, that the administration was able to do for the American people. So,
yeah, absolutely.
so with that being said, we will move on to our fifth aspect of this bill, and it is the elimination of green energy incentives. So, we know green energy sometimes can be the boogeyman that's and it can be a topic of debate. But in this elimination, it cuts tax credits and subsidies for renewables, which are solar, wind, etc. It ends the incentives unless construction begins within 60 days and finished by 2028. And it cancels consumers' rebates on EVs and energy efficient home upgrades. So, with this aspect of eliminating these green energy, we know that Trump has been big on, they're trying to take your cars away from you and make you drive electric vehicles, which is kind of weird because you would think that since Elon's his boy, he'd be like, yeah, I won't drive my boy cars, bro. Like, buy my boy cars. But it cancels all of that, which I believe this was something that was very significant during the Biden administration, where they were pushing these consumer rebates in EVs and energy efficiency as far as solar panel homes and what have you. So with this elimination, what do you view it as, brother, from a benefit or a pros and cons perspective?
I believe it's all extremely short-sighted.
Okay.
You know, one thing I say about fiscal conservativity,
Mm-hmm.
it isn't always about cutting costs. Sometimes it's making the proper investments in your future. And if you look at most sciences in general, no one really makes the leap until there are federal dollars being invested into it.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the space race, there were no solo companies that could really do all this on their own because the science takes so much work and so much cooperative and coordinated effort. But if you're looking at if you're wanting to be America first, and that is your focus, we have a crumbling infrastructure, electrical infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
years, decades old. It's in a vast need of being improved and advanced.
Mm-hmm.
This is your opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
And then, the U.S. is one of the largest, if not, I believe, the largest producer of oil in the world as a standalone country. But then you have the Saudis and everyone, but there is still dependence from us because of the type of oil we make. It's not the super desired oil.
Yeah. Yeah.
So while we produce the most, we are still dependent on foreign oil. If your goal is also to be America first and wean our dependency on other countries, wouldn't you
Yeah.
want to be able to come up and figure out a way that you were not dependent on other countries? This is your opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, not unsurprising, but it is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And also, like, we saw what happened with that big freeze last year, and everybody, with the electric cars being on the side of the road because the battery stuff went down. This is a chance for us to, if you really wanted to do manufacturing, figure out how to do this manufacturing,
Yeah.
bring it back here. Well, here's your opportunity to do that, make that investment, here in the country. So you're no longer worried about bringing jobs offshore back onshore. You are truly creating jobs
Yep.
here.
Yep.
So what, again, the question we've had since day one of this administration, what is the plan here?
Yeah.
Because this was an opportunity you could have leaned in and said, hey,
Yeah.
we're going to do this. And you
I
can
think,
still do it without shunning oil. Like,
yeah.
I get you in good with oil, yes.
Yeah.
But guess what? BP's diversifying.
Mm-hmm.
Exxon is diversifying. These companies are diversifying. Why? Because they're reading the tea leaves.
Yep. Yep. And I think that is major. And I know that Trump has his approach to this green energy and what have you. But when you look at this elimination, you're talking about potentially an estimated 830,000 clean energy jobs that could disappear. That's something that you could lean in and boost that market, boost that job labor. I know that it's a way that we maybe not have been accustomed to, but it's something that you can look into and grow and develop within our country and have the proper knowledge and training that some of these people who are not in that green energy arena, you can have that training, you can have that where you can transfer that labor into this and really, like you said before, lean into this. Also,
And
I think. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
No, you finish up. You finish up.
No. Go ahead.
And here's the big thing I just want to call out about both our statements. None of our statements are based in whether you believe in global warming or not.
Yeah.
They are all from an economic standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So for our listeners, like, you might be hearing this like, oh, they believe all this stuff. We do. Because, yes, we do believe that. But again, all of our arguments right now are coming from the economic standpoint, economic impact of this, where you're going to allow China or Russia or India to grab a foothold in these technology, and then we're going to be tardy to the party,
brother,
trying to catch up.
And I was just about to make that point and bring up the market lag that we're putting ourselves in, because we're risking losing global competitiveness in this industry, in this sector that is booming. Clean energy, clean tech is booming. And on the global standpoint, where we see that the way that the U.S. has been looking so far globally, we seem to be not the number one person in the driver's seat in the way that we've handled certain things. When you look at trade and tariffs and just where we stand globally on certain things, why would you add this to the list of us being another notch down in this sector? Why not take this market by the horns and really be the global leader in this, and in being that number one in the driver's seat? The amount of benefit that you bring to the economy is is immense. So why
Yep.
take us out of that when there is a real the driver's seat's open?
Right.
Why not let us take that on?
There's and if we're just talking about cars,
Mm-hmm.
if there's nothing else that Tesla did, Tesla proved that there was a viability in the electric car market for cars that looked like actual cars.
Yep.
And then from that, you got Fisker
Yep.
and you
Yep.
got these other companies, you got Ford and everyone to
Yep.
change their plans.
Yep.
Like there's, and the businesses don't move just to move. Like there's an
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
appetite to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't make sense to fully close the door. And I know we talked largely about electricity, but also wind,
Yeah.
geothermal.
Yep.
We just signed the deals for nuclear, so I guess that part they are digging into, but it seems kind of short-sighted to repeal some of these incentives because again, if you're putting money back in consumers' pockets to go get these things,
Yeah.
this money is going back into the
Back to
economy
bruh.
and
Thank you.
spurring more growth. Like
I
I
don't
think
understand
that,
why that people don't understand that.
and I get it. You want to phase out some of these credits, okay, but what are you doing with that gap?
Well, I think that
There's
when you speak of that, I feel like that this is a I feel like the administration does this. I feel like for one thing that they do here, they say, well, where can we save money elsewhere? And when I look at this elimination of these green energy incentives, I feel like it's just basically federal saving. That they don't have to worry about wasting this money on clean energy programs because we want to go do elsewhere. We want to go do this and we want to go do that. We want to go build a 46.5, whatever the number was, physical wall. So we need to cut this. But like we stated before in the previous episode, this is something that could benefit America's economy, and we're closing the door on it in a short-sighted manner, not realizing the implications of what it could do, not just for America's economy, for the lives of the American people. Think about some of these people who have worked maybe these factory jobs that now can transition over and train and transition into the workforce where they can be in clean energy, which provides them a higher salary, a better lifestyle, and they're able to benefit from this movement rather than taking and closing the door on it and keeping us on this very surface level aspect of where we see our economy being from an industrial and a manufacturer perspective.
you called it out, and I want to circle back to it. What are we saving? Well,
Mm-hmm.
ending the electric vehicle tax credit could save an estimated 240 billion over 10 years. So we're talking about 24 billion a year.
Yeah.
The residential clean energy credit, that's going to save 9 billion annually. And I'm not an expert in math, but both of those sound like they don't add up to what we're
Nope.
going to spend for this stupid wall.
Nope.
Like this is
Bingo.
actually going to make money for us. Again,
Mm-hmm.
this goes back to what I said, being conservative is not just about cutting costs.
Mm-hmm.
Being conservative is about making the proper investments when you need to. And you
Bingo.
would think that someone who was in private business
Mm-hmm.
would be able to grasp that.
Mm-hmm.
But and I get it, the House wrote this. So maybe Trump himself did not write this, but this seems like a way you could invest in the American people for manufacturing jobs that you've championed, for
Yep.
becoming dominant in the energy space, to put America first. This is an opportunity to do that, and looks like we're about to fumble this ball.
Yeah. Yeah. We about to fumble the bag, bro. So I think that, I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. And I hope that maybe there will be some change of heart in this. But I think that Trump is very adamant about his stance on green energy. And I just believe that's unfortunate for where this could potentially take our country going forward in the future. So, um, Yeah, with that, we are at the finale of our coverage on this big beautiful bill. But the
I
last
do
thing,
I do want to slide in something real quick before we get into the cost of all this.
okay, yes, sir.
So there's a very small provision around AI and a 10-year moratorium on state laws giving regulations to AI companies.
Hmm.
To which I said, this is interesting. To which I also said, hey, states' rights people, where y'all at?
Mm-hmm.
Where, this does appear to be a states' right that the federal government now appears to be stepping on. Where y'all at? What are y'all gonna uprise?
Mm-hmm.
No, y'all good? Okay, cool. I was just trying to figure out where y'all were at. But look, AI is, bro, this is gonna be a problem.
Big
AI is
problem,
look. I seen Google's new drop of VO, and these videos are tough.
bruh.
These videos are tough. So if we don't get control of this,
It's gonna get out of hand.
it's going to get out of hand real fast,
Mm-hmm.
real
We got
fast.
we got to figure it out. It's not on as a larger scale as AI, but it reminds me of um NIL in college,
Bruh.
and how we keep kicking the can, and
Mm,
we don't get this thing figured out, and before you know it, the floodgates open,
yep.
and we got a
Here,
problem.
here we are sitting on our hands trying to figure it out.
Yep. So definitely something needs to be done because it's a fast lane that is, if we're not careful, that vehicle is going to be passing by us on the highway. So
Oh yeah.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, brother. So
But yes, back to where we're going.
so in all of this coverage that we've done between part one and part two, where does this leave us with the debt ceiling? And if you've heard all these numbers, and if you carry the one and drop the four and add the five, you already understand and probably know that the debt ceiling is increasing. This will be raising the U.S. borrowing limit to $4 trillion, but it will prevent default through the next administration past 2026. So
Mm-hmm.
when we calculate all these numbers and add all this up when it comes to the debt ceiling, I think that we can categorize this, and I'll let you expand on it a little bit more, brother. But I think that we're going from a debt ceiling to a debt explosion.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I think more specifically, what this does to the debt ceiling, there's ain't no debt ceiling
Bruh.
from now to 2027. Break out the black card, run it up.
Bruh, that's an Aaron's account.
Bruh, just the fact that we are so willing, like our good brother Rand Paul said,
Mm-hmm.
the House version put it up 4 trillion, the Senate version put it 5 trillion. This is wild. We are literally, here we go. Here comes my rant.
Another mini rant.
These decisions are being made by people who will not have to shoulder the financial responsibility of dealing with this.
Mm-hmm.
So to just say, hey, we're going to add 4 or 5 trillion to it is irresponsible.
I completely agree. I think it's very irresponsible. I think a number that I saw that said that the national debt was headed towards about 36.2 trillion, if I have that number correct.
Oh no. See, and that's why I paused real quick because I want to go there. If you go to usdebtclock.org,
Debt clock.
as we are recording, the U.S. national debt is 36.9 trillion.
Oh, geez.
That is $107,000 per citizen. So your kids and my kids already, you pop out, you get this $1,000 account from Trump, and you still attribute to $107,000. Oh, and even better, if you look at the debt per taxpayer, That's about $325,000 per taxpayer.
Bro, this is in my opinion, this is very reckless, man.
But it's got to stop. Like at some point, we're going to have to do something.
Bro, we had to do something. So with that being said, with no new fiscal rules or reforms attached, it's just more borrowing. It sounds like we're just kicking the can down the road, and ultimately just delaying our reckoning. Because I feel like at this point, and I think that I have seen over some of our lovely members that are in the tinfoil hat community, they've been saying that they have been saying that this is a prepping of the collapse, and they have been calling this the Great Reset, where the global financial restructuring will be led by the World Economic Forum, and this is just getting us to that point as fast as possible. Because I think that at some point, as much borrowing as you have to do, eventually there has to be something. The purse has to pop at some point. And I feel like we're being very reckless in how we're doing this and expanding these things, just for the sake of doing whatever it is that we feel needs to be done, from a budget perspective. So,
well, if you look at our national debt, approximately, hold on, I'm validating this number because I don't want to come in here. I'm gonna roll with it. Total publicly held U.S. debt, it's about $26 trillion. 70% are domestic investors. So about of that 26, 18 trillion are domestic, 8 trillion are foreign investors. So we owe a lot of money to ourselves.
yeah.
But again, you're looking at a global economic system that is built on the U.S.'s work and our ability to pay these bonds. The U.S. losing our AAA status now across all the major credit bureaus is problematic. But getting back to the big, beautiful bill, most of this, so extending the tax cuts, that's a loss of revenue of 2.2 trillion. Business tax cuts, 1.1 trillion. Expanded child care credit, 410 billion. The Trump savings accounts, 180 billion. It's not that bad. Not that bad. So, and the eliminating IRS direct file program, which we didn't have time to get into but that's a 20 billion in savings. Then you got the defense spending that we're increasing, and border security. That's another $220 billion. Yeah.
The math ain't mathing.
The math is, bro, we ain't got it, man.
We ain't got, bro.
I ain't got it, man.
Bro, we must be trying to rub pennies together and make dimes, because I'm not understanding this. It leads me to think, bro, we can't be this bad at budgeting.
Bro.
Or we could.
Moody's and Fitch said the fiscal trajectory is viewed as unsustainable.
Bro. I would agree with Brother Moody. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination.
Pause. It's Brother Moody, man. Moody.
Moody.
Brother, that's wild.
Bro, I would imagine, bro. The numbers just don't seem to be mathing to me, man. And I think that with the amount of passing that this bill has, where we've had a lot of people sign off on it, I believe that there were none of the Democrats voted for it. And I think
it passed by one vote in the House.
It passed by one vote. I will say, and I always tell people, it's very important that when these votes go down, to know who voted for what, so that when it comes time for you to go back to that ballot box and you got a problem with something that impacted you greatly, remember who voted for it.
Look, you ask your politician if they took the Pardon the Politics challenge and read a page out of the Harry Potter book. But again, so let's talk about very quickly. Let's talk about the path that this has to go on. So it's past the House. It's heading over to the Senate.
Yeah.
They're trying to get it through under budget reconciliation, but that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Because for that to work, the exact same version of the bill has to pass in both the House and the Senate. Otherwise, they need to get 60 votes in the Senate for this to pass, and there is no way that this is going to get 60 votes. So they're going to have to make changes to this to get it to pass in the Senate and then send it back to the House. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because we saw Trump himself having to go down to Congress and say, please vote for my bill. Please vote for my bill, sir.
Please. My big, beautiful bill, please.
It's so beautiful. So I don't see this getting done very quickly. I think we have another couple weeks of this saga to play out, or we could be completely wrong. And by the time that we release this, they've passed the bill. Who knows?
Yes, we will see. I think that I would hope that this bill will be challenged with some of the things that we've broken down and how this bill will impact Americans. I hope that it will be challenged, but there's been a lot of hope that's gone around, and we've seen that those hopes have fallen very short and very flat when it comes to some of the things that have happened in our political landscape. So we'll see, man.
Hope is not a strategy. Actually,
it is not.
Hope is only a strategy when you have that hope in the Most High. Yes, Jesus Christ. That is the only place where hope is a strategy.
Yep. But other than that, it's no good.
Not so much. Yep.
So that is our coverage of this big, beautiful bill that has been provided to us. And I hope that at the questions and our coverage of this and the details that we provided have gotten you as our listeners to really think about these things. As we said in the previous episode, we don't in no shape, form, or fashion think that everyone read these 1,000 pages. But hopefully this will kind of spark something in you, the listener, to maybe not read all 1,000 pages, but really do your research and look into what is being signed, what is being passed through in Washington, and how that will ultimately affect you, the American people. We're the boots that are on the ground, and ultimately these decisions that are being made impact us the most. So with that being said, that is our coverage. That's our part 2, our first ever part 2 of doing an episode. Hopefully you guys enjoy it.
Happy Wednesday, everyone.
Yeah, happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Hopefully this episode, this part 2, finds you in great spirit. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming back for episode 21, part 2, and hearing us wrap up this big, beautiful bill. So with that being said, brother, you got anything?
I'm good here.
I'm good as well too. We're not gonna give you any spotlights or any pickles. We're just gonna give you the content, and we will see you at the next episode.
We'll see y'all on Monday. Yeah, we'll see y'all on Monday.
So take care, and remember, as always, if don't nobody love you, just know the boys here at Partner Politics, we do love you. So take care.
Love y'all.